Hey there, this is Brent with BDA Studios. So in the last video we created this 3D printed jig for the xTool F1, and I showcased this other one, but I didn't actually explain how I made it. So I wanted to take a minute and go through how I made this modular template, and then also I wanted to show how you can use the 3D model that you've created in Tinkercad and then import the SVG into XCS so you can reference it when you're laser engraving. And so this will apply to other laser engravers and other design software, where if you can import an SVG file into your design software, this same principle will apply. Let's take a look at Tinkercad, and I'm logged in. One thing, if you're using the Chrome browser, and this works for both Windows and Mac, if you go up here, notice it has this little icon that says install Tinkercad, and what it's going to do is install it as a desktop app. So now you can actually pin this to your taskbar, or you could save it on the Mac. So now we can run Tinkercad as a desktop app, and I don't have to go to the browser. Let's open, I want to show you this template that I created. This is the modular template, and basically what I did is I took the imported SVG that we've talked about before, and from here what I did is I would duplicate it, so Control D or Command D, and what I've done is then I resize it. If I hold the Shift key and I resize it, now it's going to shrink, and it's also, when you hold the Shift, you're resizing in all dimensions, so X, Y, and Z. The Z is the height of the object. So I want to now, before I don't want to click away while it's still selected, hold the Control or Command button and then press the up arrow, and let's bring this up so that I can see it. You can also change the color if it makes it a little easier. You can just kind of select a color you like, and now it's easier to see both of these. So now I have this cut out, and at this point what I need to do is adjust it so that its height is taller than the base plate. So if I click on this and click and drag it, I just pick a number for now, and then while this is up in the air you can press the letter D, and that will drop it to this work plane. The work plane is this bottom bluish grid that everything relates to. So if you look around, you can tell that it goes all the way through, and what I can do is a couple of things. One, I'm going to turn this into a whole object. So with the centerpiece selected, I press whole, and now when I group these together, it's going to create the whole similar to what I have over here. I want to keep a reference to this whole object because I'm cutting it out exactly, and then when I create my jig I want to use this same exact size. So before I join these together, go ahead and press Control D, and then I'm holding Shift and I'm moving it out of the way. So here now I've got these two selected, and then I group them, and now I have this whole, and it's the template. So you could go ahead and export this, print this, and this is your base plate for the template. And then from here we take this object and I go ahead and make it a solid, and now you can then turn this into whatever jig you're holding, whatever object. In the previous video we created this pen holder, and what I want to do is, if I'm going to create like a holder to center this fidget toy, one thing I want to do, let's make this a little smaller, and sometimes, I don't know why it does that, where if you look at it at a different angle it puts everything different orientation. So let's click this and let's shrink this down. You can make it the exact height of the base plate, and in our case this base plate is 5 millimeters, so we could also make this one 5 millimeters. You can kind of experiment with it, but at this point what I'm going to do is let's select this and let's press D, make sure it's on the ground, so to speak. Let's take this one, and what I want is to bring this up. Because this is rounded, if I were to turn this into a hole and subtract it from this base plate, it's going to, because it's rounded, it's going to be pretty deep. So I don't want it to be all the way through, and I don't want it to be very thick. One way to see that is to select the plate and then press the letter T, and that makes it transparent. So now you can kind of see how the two overlap. So if I select this and I bring it up, notice you can see how it sits on top. Again, we know this base plate is 5 millimeters tall, so right now this is sitting at 5, so it's right on top. But if I bring it down just 1 millimeter, now it's embedded like that. So here I'll select both, and then I will group them. And now I've got this imprint. If I select this and I press T, now we see the whole object. So now I've got this perfect imprint of the object. So when I print this, one, I'm saving filament by printing just this smaller insert, and it will allow me to line up my object for engraving. The other thing I wanted to do is show you how to take a model like this and reference it in XCS. Let's go back to the home screen where I can select, here's the jig that I made in the previous video. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. And there's a couple things we want to do. First, when you export this, so I want a reference to this shape. And this works if you have a flat side that you can export. When you export this as an SVG, it's going to take the object and it's going to take whatever side is touching the work plane, this the bottom, the floor as it were, and it's going to export an image that looks the shape that's this part that's touching. So if I select it and I choose export and then I come down here and that says SVG, when I export it as an SVG, if I take a look at it, what's going to happen is it's going to be flat. So if I jump over to XCS and then I can import as an image and then I select this SVG, it comes in and it's flat. It doesn't show the shape that we had cut out, so we don't want that. Let's go back to Tinkercad, and instead what I want to do is flip this over so that this cutout is on the work plane, and then when I export an SVG, it'll come in and it'll have the reference that I want. So to do that, go ahead and select the object, and honestly, I mean, there's probably a couple of ways to do this, but what I do is I just click and drag, and then I let go, and then I just press D and I make sure that it's on the plane. So now, when you look at it, this is the shape that's going to be exported. One thing I like to do is, when you export, it's going to take the name of the object. So in order to keep track of things, I'm just going to call this jig template XCS, and that'll be the reference. So now I select this, I choose export, I choose SVG, then I come over to XCS, and this is the template that I had created. I'm going to remove that because I don't need it anymore. So now let's import image, and we'll choose XCS file and click open. Now this is going to ask if I want to scale the image to fit. I don't want to scale it to fit because we were using exact measurements. The SVG file is going to be an exact reference of the jig template. Let's go ahead and say no and keep that. Now, the reason we're doing that is this space, let me zoom out, this space, this area is the cuttable area. In other words, you can only cut within, that falls within this base. Our template is larger, and that's okay. What I want to do is center this so I have it centered, and now what I have is an image that references the slots that I've created in my jig. I don't want to cut this, so I'm going to come over here where I've selected it, and then I choose under the compound vector, I'm going to select output, so this is not going to be modified. And then the other thing I want to do is lock this, so if I right click and choose lock, now I can't accidentally grab it and move it. Now that we've got this template referenced in XCS, we can go over to the F1 and I can show you how we can now use this in relation to the template that we have. Here I've got my template, so let's open the F1 and place this inside, and then here are the bamboo pens that I've got that we can engrave on. So I'm going to lay those in here, and I'm going to line these up. And let's go ahead and focus. So right about there. I can move this over so that the tricky part with these pens, they're just longer than the sides, so when I go to close the lid, it's going to be really close and it doesn't close all the way. You could, take the ends off and then it'll fit, but for our purposes this is fine. We're not going to see the laser, we're not going to get affected by it. So this is now set up, I've focused, and because I'm using this jig and because I have a reference of this jig in XCS, I can now lay out my text and I can print or laser engrave on these and I should be fine. So let's add some text, and we're going to say BDA Studios, and we're going to size this down so that it fits. I'm going to select engrave. Now for the material, we can say bamboo, and this will give us kind of a starting point. You can experiment with this, but for our purposes this should work just fine. Now for the scaling, you'll have to experiment with that, but for our purposes I can just place this right about here, and then let's go ahead and copy and paste this and line these up. Now because I've used the jig and I have this set up for the reference, I should be able to engrave this and it should line up just fine. The other thing is, remember again, this is ignored, so we're not going to create anything there, and it's just going to do the engraving. So let's go ahead and select process and then start. Close our lid and hit the go button. And there you go. That's how you can reference the jig. Obviously you can change up the size based on how big you want it, how small, to your preference. Hopefully that was helpful. It gave you some ideas on what to do for your laser engraving jigs, and give you a way to import the SVG into XCS in order to reference that so that you can set up your layout and it works really well. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.